This is what literally consumed about the past 8 months of my life in a hobby sense. Sup guys? Been a minute. Alright. So I've been a gamer my whole life. From a young age, my dad actually got me a PS1 and Xena Warrior Princess. I don't know if any of y'all know that game. Playing video games hasn't always been about an escape necessarily, but I've always used it subconsciously, at least for that reason, and I'm sure some of you have too. And as much as real life can suck, you know you can't use that as a crutch for everything. But that does not mean it's not a help. And as I've played games like Skyrim, like Oblivion, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and all these great games that have taken a lot of my time and helped me get through rough times, I discovered something else. Something that helped me get through moments again and lost, in a sense, in the best way possible. And this time it was a book.
How dare you!
And about a year ago, I went through a lot of hardships, and I'm not gonna lie, life hasn't gotten much easier yet. I still have a lot of things that I have to discover, go through, and figure out, as I'm sure many of you can relate with me, that a lot of times when you feel like life is getting better, you get pushed down even lower. And in those times, I thought about reading. So I spoke to a friend that was reading books, and I asked them what their books were about. They started explaining to me in quite a lot of detail, but I had fun listening. It was kind of just fun. I was waiting to make my next YouTube video. I was kind of in the moment about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I got tired a little bit of the constant push for a new video, looking for news about something that came out, and the concept of a passion that is making videos and playing video games became more of a chore than what I actually wanted to do. But the difference here is, with whatever I went through, it had nothing to do with what I thought I wanted, which is why I'm surprised. And somehow, I read 8 books, plus the one I'm reading right now. So it all started with The Wheel of Time, The Eye of the World. Now, these are not the original books I bought. I actually bought these versions, which are my favorite versions. They're big, they got a big ass map. But I'm not here to talk to you in detail, unless you guys want, you can let me know in the comments. These are one my friend actually got from a thrift type of place. I love them because they have the original art on the soft covers, but whatever. I never expected books to hit me as hard as video games would, because I had read maybe 2 or 3 books in the past in the story fiction genre. That was maybe 10 years ago. What I wanted to get to here is how much unexpectedly I was able to relate to reading words on a page to literal games with graphics and gameplay and action. And it's odd to say, but I'm at book 9 right now. I'm in the beginning of it, and this has been a journey since last September, so it's maybe been 8 or 9 months, and I'm already 9 books in. And this is not something that you would expect as a gamer. The thing that really hit me is actually a couple of key points. First of all, I used to think reading is boring. Unless it's manga, maybe. But generally, there's no pictures, there's no colors, there's no music you can hear. You miss out on a lot. But what your brain does kind of substitutes all of it, and in some senses, even in a better way. Especially if you read a fantasy book. This is the only experience I have, so if there's any book readers watching this video who have actual experience with many different genres, don't come at me. Just teach me in the comments. I'm willing to listen and read and respond to you guys. But I've noticed that the world building in a book like this, especially The Wheel of Time, is so huge that it's literally comparable to all of Cyrodiil and Tamriel in The Elder Scrolls, if any of you are fans. It throws you in a literal lived-in world. There's nothing about this that makes me feel like this is just a static word on a page, because you know their cultures, the people who live in this book, and the way it progresses, you understand the words that they use, the different speeches that they have, literally in games, where you'll go to a certain area of the map and they'll talk about things that you might know about or not know about. And it's not just the world, it's also the characters. They go in deep detail about let's say the main characters, Rand, Matt, Perrin, if you guys have read The Wheel of Time or at least know about it. They go in deep detail about the main character like a protagonist in a story. And I know I sound dumb right now because obviously books came before games, no shit. But as someone who doesn't read, which I feel like this generation really doesn't read as much as people that used to in the past, it is surprising. I always thought to myself, I'm sure the book's nice, but I'm gonna sit down and look at this huge 900 page book and actually read it. It feels like a chore. But then whenever you are going through the pages, you're not noticing on how many pages did I read, how much is there left. You're more just reading through a story. Kind of like when you're playing a video game, you don't look on Google and see how many hours it takes to beat this certain game and then look at yourself and say, oh, I've only been through 40 hours, so I must have another 20 if I want to reach 60. You just played a game and you end up finishing it whenever you do. And whatever graphics the game could have actually provided you, which would be better or not, your brain kind of does that naturally. Your brain, like the more you read, the more your brain renders the game, in a sense. You become better at reading, you become better at imagining, you become, in general, just more in tune. And the longer the book, the happier you are. Because I notice, usually the books, the big versions, are like, 700-800 pages. And once I picked one of them up around 600 pages, and I was legitimately sad. My friend who came to get the book with me, he looked at me and said, "You're sad because it's only 670 pages?" And I was like, yeah. And this, for me, is also just a hobby. The way I look at it now versus back then when my mom would tell me you need to read more books, is that I can do it whenever I want for however long I want. There's periods where in a day I'll read for straight up like 5 hours or 6 hours. I really want to read. And then there's days where you're going through it, things are happening, you're busy, and I'll read maybe like 5 pages. But over time, whatever you read becomes a part of what you think about when you're not reading, just like a video game. And this is what I think really hooked me in, is that as gamers, we already like world building, lore, characters, combat. And if you like stories in video games, like if you like God of War, if you're like Red Dead Redemption, if you like The Last of Us, you like story arcs, character arcs, people going through changes. And the books literally do that better at times than many of the games that you played. Now, I'm not going to dog on it. I love Red Dead Redemption 2. And I'm not saying that Red Dead Redemption 2 is not better than some books. No, I'm just saying the similarities actually connect us a lot more than you think. And I'm talking more specifically about fantasy because it's the only thing I've read and it's the only fantasy book I've read, but it scratches that itch. It kind of makes your brain slow down a little bit, take it chill. Kind of like if you would have played, I guess, a calmer game or a simulation game. This is kind of what playing Zelda feels like at times, like Breath of the Wild, let's say, whenever it's more peaceful. It scratches that itch of like slowing down and just really diving in a world. But because it's written by a good author, he knows how to make you be emotionally invested, like in video games or even movies at this point. Not only that, but it helped me focus more literacy, more everything. And I know these are things people don't care about, but in my opinion, these are the types of things that as a gamer, I'm encouraging you to try to pick a book up. This is what literally consumed about the past 8 months of my life in a hobby sense. But I gotta say that this kind of was not only the highlight of my year, but it's also a new hobby that I've picked up that I'm sure will never really leave me anymore. This is again coming from someone who didn't read books. If you guys want me to go into more detail as to why I think characters, worlds, storylines, plot arcs, or even if you want me to go more in detail about, if you guys want me to go more in detail about specifically what I think of the books every time I read them, I can, because it's gotten to the point where I take notes. No joke, chapter per chapter, I write the dates when I read them, and especially with the Wheel of Time, it's so big and there's so many like foretellings and foreshadowing and prophecies that go on. I don't want to lose track. And when I watch book reviews and people pick up on certain cues and things that I didn't, it started annoying me. Even then, it's something that kind of consumed me, and I'm sure it will you too. So if you guys have any questions or want anything else, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with a friend. If you are a reader and you want your friend that doesn't read to potentially want to, maybe I can help him get into it. Anyways, it's a good, healthy thing to do, and it's genuinely fun. This is coming from someone who plays games all the time. So I'm telling you, there's no such thing as the book, pages, words on a page is boring. Once you really give it a try, it doesn't even have to be this book. You could pick up anything else. It doesn't matter. And I'm just saying, There's good stuff out there. Whatever you know is not the only thing that exists. So try new things. This is my suggestion. And on that note, Genat's out. Peace.